It's hard to explain what the Grand Canyon really is. You can look at pictures, you can read descriptions, but until you sit inside it for days at a time, floating down the river, you can't quite grasp the scale of it. It's vast, complicated, beautiful, deep, almost incomprehensible. But if you sit quietly in that place long enough, something begins to reveal itself. Meaning starts to emerge. This particular river trip was different from my first trip through the canyon. On my first expedition, I had been traveling with all men. But this time, every single person on the trip was a woman. And something about that changed the entire experience. Being in the canyon with a group of women felt completely freeing. I found myself relaxed in a way that is rare for me in the real world. Even though I only knew about half the women well, I felt comfortable, accepted, valued. There was a deep sense of care moving through the group, an unspoken understanding that we were all there together, supporting each other. That kind of atmosphere is not something I encounter very often. In many spaces, especially ones that include both men and women, I sometimes feel a quiet undercurrent of competition. Part of that probably comes from growing up with two older brothers, no sisters, and a very strong father. And for a long time, I worked in a field that is dominated by men. So throughout life, I carried this subtle feeling that I had to prove myself, that maybe I was somehow less capable. But on this trip, that feeling disappeared. There was no competition, just shared adventure. And something beautiful happened because of that. As we floated through the canyon, other river groups began to notice us. A group of women rowing our own boats through one of the most powerful landscapes on earth. People would look, then do a double take. And the energy of those moments was different from the kind of attention women often receive. It wasn't judgment. It wasn't objectification. It felt more like respect. One day we were eating lunch on a beach below Elves Chasm when a large motorboat passed by. Two cowboys were guiding the group. As they passed us, they looked over, then suddenly realized that every single person in our group was a woman. Both of them stopped. They took off their hats and tipped them toward us. A quiet gesture of respect. I still get goosebumps thinking about that moment. Later that day, the river offered me a lesson I didn't expect. We had been following the map all morning and thought we knew exactly where we were. Ahead of us was a rapid that the guidebook described simply as, "This rapid is easy." So when we approached it, I felt calm. I was rowing the boat. Abby's boat was just ahead of me. Caitlin was sitting behind me, reading the guidebook. As we approached the rapid, Abby's boat slipped briefly into a small eddy on River Right. I thought, ooh, well, I'm going to get too close to her boat. But I wasn't worried. After all, the guidebook said this rapid was easy. Abby pulled out of the eddy and lined up. I followed behind her. And just as we entered the rapid, I remember thinking, wow, that's a huge hole. And that's a really big wave for such an easy rapid. But I stayed calm. I kept the boat straight, rowed through the line, and we had a beautiful run. When the other boats caught up to us, they looked surprised. They said, "You two just rode Waltenberg." Waltenberg Rapid, a rapid rated a 7 out of 10. We had been wrong about where we were on the river, and I had just rode a major rapid without even realizing it. Later, I thought about how different that moment might have been if I had known. If I had heard the name Waltenberg beforehand, I might have handed the oars to someone else or panicked right above the rapid. But because I believed the rapid was easy, I rode it like it was. That moment stayed with me for the rest of the trip because it reminded me how powerful the stories we tell ourselves can be. Sometimes the limits we feel in life aren't real. They're just stories, stories built from doubt, stories we've carried for years without questioning them. That river trip reminded me to be more careful with the stories I tell myself, to notice them, to question them. Because the truth is, we are often far more capable than we believe. By the time we left the canyon, I felt something had shifted inside me. I felt stronger, more confident, more connected to the women I had shared that journey with, and deeply grateful for the wild places that still exist in this world, places where we can rediscover who we really are. Floating down the Colorado River with those women, I felt something sacred. Not just the power of the canyon, but the power of women supporting one another. And the reminder that the stories we choose to believe about ourselves can shape the entire course of our lives.